phallus-preserving vaginoplasty.
Oh my god. Phallus-preserving vaginoplasty, as this person said it, is a real thing that you just heard come out of my mouth. And just further proves the title of this video, which is that trans has become a fashion statement and no longer about having gender dysphoria. We all knew this, but I thought I would take the time this week to break down exactly why and how this happened. Welcome to another psychological deep dive. Who and when? Let's start with the past. Now, the LGBT community, when we used to be one, had always been a little bit weird, right? Artistic, if you will. Queer, the original meaning of the word, which was like strange, weird outcasts. No one really wanted to be associated with the types like us, when we were actually thought of less than. But over the past 20 years, being LGBT has slowly been accepted. Being weird was cool in the 80s and 90s. Bi then became cool in like the early 2000s. Every 2000s high school kid had a bi girl in their class, a bi girl. And then because weird and bisexuality and stuff was cool, being accepted turned into being promoted, right? We had shows like Tila Tequila, which was a bisexual girl taking a shot at love with both sexes. We had Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl, and supposedly she liked it. And then YouTube became a thing, and the queerdos finally had a place to gather. A new place to express themselves. And this time, it blew up. People like myself gained hundreds of thousands of followers for being different, and because it was online and a lot of viewers were anonymous, it became, I hate this word, a safe place. And trust me, it didn't take long for companies to start taking note of our influence. There was money to be made. So much so that from acceptance to promoted, we became sought after. Companies started including us in literally everything they could just to get the gay view. Don't get me wrong, I had no problem, and I've always said this, being the token lesbian. Like, if you want to pay me just because you want like a little diversity and your diversity quota, like, I'm okay with that. But woke leftists did not feel the same. Queer baiting, they called it. So yeah, they found a way to be oppressed even when companies and TV shows were giving them literal platforms to be themselves on. The queer movement was gaining traction right around the same time as actual cancel culture was born. Weird went from cool to empowered. People became more involved in keyboard activism, as we've seen this happen. And soon after, it became more about morals and inclusivity than actually being homosexual. I mean, it had to, right? It makes sense. In order to sustain itself and a movement, they had to find something else to fight for. Guess what? In 2015, we gained marriage equality in this country. Who and when? The present. The world was healing. Gays and straights were now equal in the law. Now the only issue was that we left behind the 2000s emo kids, and where were these mostly autistic people to go?
I like being a cat. Well, I know exactly my purpose in life here. Just nice to be able to not be a human for a little while.
Is this real life, or are these societally imposed constructs?
They were also the weird, unlikable outcasts. But unlike us, they still had no power. Where was the power currently? With the queer movement. The queer movement is no longer about being LGBT. It's about leftism, crybaby bullshit, people who can't fend for themselves, weird fetishes, and, in my opinion, ugly fashion.
No, you aren't supporting, investing, or organizing your community to uplift the most marginalized if you're still not masking. Our liberation has always been connected. The continued rise of fascism is directly connected to Palestine, Sudan, Congo, losing reproductive rights, anti-trans violence, xenophobia, and yes, COVID.
Okay, can we talk about how she literally didn't even mention COVID until the end of that statement? Like, masking had become both a moral high ground and a fashion statement. Looking down upon the peasants masked up. Now why? Because there is power in making people feel guilty. No one wants to be called homophobic or transphobic or racist or misogynistic or whatever. But the issue here was that the majority of these emo individuals were none of those things, right? They were none of those actual minorities. These emo types did have equal rights. They just had a little or no personality besides being perpetually depressed, mentally ill, and or probably end, enjoying extreme body modification in some way or another. Think about this, the queers of the past were already accepting of the body modification community, right? And we already had power. Thus, a new movement began. Emo kids plus depression plus body modification equals queer ideology.
Do you think gender identity is a fad?
Absolutely, yes. I was part of it. Non-binary and gender fluid videos, and I was like, oh, maybe there is something wrong with me because I am a different gender. If these people can be themselves by chopping up their body parts, why can't I?
How? more identities. I do this for a living, and I can't even tell you what half of these identities on screen mean. I don't even think these kids know what they mean. I think they just slap them on because they want to be oppressed. Thus the title of the video. More problems.
Expressing myself through my hair is such an important part of feeling confident in my appearance as a queer person.
Not only does dyeing my hair make me feel empowered, it helps affirm my gender identity too.
The hair affirmation station. Dyeing your hair literally has nothing to do with being gay, queer, trans, whatever. More oppression.
Just because you don't think my identity is real, science does! Science actually does! Even if you don't want to believe the science, why do you hate us so much?
Here's what my friend Nick had to say about all of this.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Blooms, a detransitioner and children's book illustrator. Oppression and victimization is such an unhealthy belief system that lacks inner resilience. There's a lot of ways in which I myself, when I was trans-identified a few years ago, believed that I was a victim. First off, whenever someone would call me he, that would struck such a painful chord in my heart that I'd be like, oh my god, I'm oppressed. Conservatives were talking about trans issues, and I thought that, oh my god, they're taking away my gender affirming care rights. Continues to confirm this belief system of the victim. Social media brainwashes people into believing that there's a transgenocide going on. It creates an unhealthy, unstable mental state. I want to bring attention to the importance of inner resilience, since we live in a society where escapism and quick fixes that don't address the root problem, and instead these individuals are identifying with their suffering.
More power. Feel bad for me and give me money.
If you could support me, I'm a college student. Yes, I'm working. And yes, I have several scholarships covering for my degree.
More division.
So a while back, I made this tweet. The exposing of the problem with our country for the last 4 years is palpable. The division being touted by the left. In droves, people are isolating themselves from friends and loved ones. They scream and preach diversity and inclusion, but they are instruments of hate and division. Why is this? Why are they so hateful? These people, their only personalities was their rampant, unchecked mental illness. A bunch of them get together and make that their whole identity. People outside the community celebrate these individuals. As long as they tag themselves as trans or queer, they're a member of the LGBT PP plus community. And then what happens when you have these individuals that are all celebrated for being trans? More and more people see that and they latch onto that. And the more people creates this environment of delusion where everything these individuals now do is celebrated and they expect it.
Where we at right now in this moment of time? More regret. When you make trans or queer being about a fashion statement, a fun, lighthearted, I'm gonna experiment, and also an expression of moral ideology somehow, this is what happens.
What is a woman?
Can you tell me what a woman is? Because clearly you're really confused, and that's okay. I'm really sorry for the loss of your brain cells.
You can't even define what a woman is, and you're saying I've lost brain cells?
The absolute narcissism in this one is ridiculous.
Since discovering my gender expression and how fluid it is, I've come to a realization that if you want to date me, you have to be okay with the fact that you might wake up to a little boyfriend, a little androgynous partner, or a little femme girlfriend.
Maya said, I wish I knew what gay communities used to be like before a generation of heterosexual 18-year-olds took queer studies for 1 semester and suddenly all became non-binary. It was great back then, Maya. That's the answer. Honestly, it was. Before kids were identifying as animals.
In her past life, she was an animal. It was now her mission in this life to reconnect and remember what type of animal or theory and spirit she was. I can't make this up. I mean, you would expect your child to come out as trans, gay, whatever, but the last thing you would expect your child to come out as is as an animal.
And yeah, of course, this leads to actual less acceptance of real homosexual and transsexual people, right? We've seen a number of these news articles come out over the last few years of LGBT acceptance declining. This is just one of the reasons. The people have had it. The bullied have become the bullies. Stephanie said, fuck DEI, fuck your pronouns, fuck your woke agenda, fuck men and women's sports, fuck your open border, your safe spaces, your trigger warnings, queers for Palestine, defunding the police, and your dishonest bullshit. Even the actual gays are all over it. Rudy said, it's the second day of Pride and trans rights activists are yet to pay me my reparation for the following crimes. And he listed a bunch, but the funniest one I thought was him saying, hijacking my flag to promote Black Lives Matter and trans ideology, which have nothing to do with homosexuality. And slowly people are starting to backtrack. We are seeing this over and over. People are coming out as either detrans or coming out as not trans or going back to the pronouns that they used before, either because they're over the woke ideology or they've become parents and they want to start making sense. People are realizing that indeed we have bigger issues to work on. This chart about sums it up. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Other than that, I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, make sure to subscribe. I love you, and I will see you guys then. Keep calling out the bullshit. Bye.